And from McClatchy newspapers, this past week hundreds of Egyptians surged into the Cairo headquarters of the dreaded state security apparatus for an unprecedented look inside buildings where political prisoners endured horrific torture. Dismantling state security, the shadowy and all-powerful intelligence force, was a key demand of protesters who forced the resignation last month of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. When the military-led interim authority failed to dissolve the agency immediately, protesters in Cairo and the port city of Alexandria descended on state security offices this weekend to seize files they hoped would cement Mubarak's legacy of prisoner abuse and disappearances.
It was just trying to make sure that if there are any people inside the Amn al-Dawla building, we need to get them out. These people are political prisoners and they've been there for years, and we've seen this in Alexandria and in other places, so we want to make sure that there isn't anybody in there at this point, and we want to secure those documents or make sure that these documents go to the right hands.
Some activists also were looking for evidence related to Egypt's role in the U.S. government's longtime practice of extraordinary rendition, which is the transfer of American-held detainees to foreign soil where harsher interrogation techniques could be used. Protesters carted off armloads of files and turned them over to a prosecutor who arrived on the scene. The Egyptian Organization for Human Rights, an independent nonprofit, puts the number of political prisoners at around 17,000. Official government figures are much lower, with an estimated 500. Human Rights Watch, the international advocacy group, has said in its reports that torture in Egypt is a widespread and persistent phenomenon. Security forces and the police routinely torture or ill-treat detainees, particularly during interrogation. In most cases, officials torture detainees to obtain information and coerce confessions, occasionally leading to death in custody. We want it dissolved and turned into an information-gathering authority, nothing more. We don't need them to torture someone with the outcome of labeling someone a terrorist. They create terrorists. What we need is for them to have a pool of information and confront anyone with it, and then they'll admit to it without torture. Egyptian military tanks were positioned outside the security structure, and the Army's elite Thunder Squad pleaded with protesters not to enter the forbidden complex. Egyptians chanting "Down with state security" stormed past them and flooded into the building. They lingered even as military police fired warning shots into the air. Since Mubarak's ouster on February 11th, protesters have kept up pressure on the ruling military leadership to dissolve state security and replace it with a scaled-down intelligence force headed by a civilian. Activists complain that the military has worked slowly and in secrecy to bring about that and other promised reforms on Egypt's rocky path to democracy.
They want to scare us. They want to scare us, which is basically what they've been trying to do since we started this revolution, is to scare us into submission, into bowing down and saying, that's it, or we're done, do your thing. But we're not going to do that.